Hey guys, welcome to my second video on writing in slope-intercept form. So in the first video, I showed you how to write in slope-intercept form using a graph. And now I'm going to show you in this video how to write in slope-intercept form using a table. So this table right here is linear. The reason why it's linear is because there is the change in y is always the same pattern as adding 8 all the time. So 3 plus 8 is 11, 11 plus 8 is 19, and so forth and so on. And your change in x is also the same addition pattern of 2, addition pattern of 2, addition pattern 2, and so forth and so on. So now in order for us to write in slope-intercept form, which is in the form of y equals mx plus b, you know that step 1 is always going to be to find the rate. And that's what we're going to do. Whoops, sorry. Let me erase that. So step 1 is to always find the rate. So the rate of change is your change in y over change in x, or more notably known as your slope formula. Y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. You can kind of see what the rate is if you just did your change in y over change in x. But again, if you feel more comfortable with the formula, you can use the formula. In this case, I can just pick any 2 points. So this is going to be my, let's say these two, okay? So this could be my x sub 1, and this will be my y sub 1, and then this could be my x sub 2, and this could be my y sub 2. You could pick any 2 points, but those are the two that I picked. So now let's plug it in the formula. So y sub 2 is 19, and y sub 1 is 11. And then x sub 2 is 4, and my x sub 1 is 2. So 19 minus 11 is 8, and then 4 minus 2 is 2. And when you divide 8 divided by 2, you'll get 4, or 4 over 1, okay? So 4 over 1 is my rate, all right? And so let me erase that real quick. So 4 over 1 is my rate. So that means that means if you graph this, it's going to go from one point to the next. It's going to go 4 units up and then over 1 unit to the right. All right, so now our step 2 was to always find my y-intercept. Now, as you recall, in the graph, your y-intercept is always the point that crosses the y-axis. Also, if you see it in the table, y-intercept means that your x is always equal to 0. So if you look at this table, when x is equal to 0, then this must be your y-intercept. Okay? So in this case, it's very easy to see that your y-intercept is positive 3. And now step 3, all you have to do is write in the form of y equals mx plus b. M is your rate that it's always going up or down by, and then b is your y-intercept. So y equals, your rate is 4, x, and then plus your y-intercept, which is 3. So the table here, the formula for this table is y equals 4x plus 3. And you can check it by replacing x. So for example, 4 times 0 is 0 plus 3 is 3. So that would make sense. And then 4 times 2 is 8. And then plus 3, that will equal 11. So that's true. Okay, so you can check it to plug in x for every x that you see here, and you should be able to get the y value. Okay, so as previously I showed you a way for you guys to also get the y-intercept even without it being for sure that it hits exactly at a whole number. So sometimes the y-intercept is a fraction. And sometimes in the table, it doesn't really show you when x is equal to 0, what y is. So you have to actually calculate the y-intercept at that point. Okay, so let's figure this one out real quick. So this table is linear because every time you go on the y-axis, it always goes up by 4. All right, and then you might think, okay, 15 to 45 is not up by 4, and then I'll explain a little bit later about that. And then so on the x-axis, it's going by 2s, right? And again, the same idea, you might think like, okay, so this is not going well for me. 5 to 20 is not up by 2s. But this is linear, and I'll explain to you that it is actually going the same exact rate. All right, so to explain that to you, I'm going to take these two as my x1 and y1, and then this is my x sub 2 and then y sub 2. And so to find the rate, my rate is going to be y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. So y sub 2 is 45, and then minus 15 is my y sub 1, and then x sub 2 is 20, minus 5 is my x sub 1. 45 minus 15 is going to be 30, and then 20 minus 5 is going to be 15. And when you divide 30 divided by 15, you get a rate of 2. So 2 over 1 is your rate. Now I'm going to show you that that rate is kind of the same for every x and for every y. So these two right here, 7 to 11 is plus 4, and these two right here, 1 to 3 is plus 2. And when you divide 4 divided by 2, you get a rate of 2 over 1. So it's kind of the same, even if these are so far apart. Another way you can think about it is, in a span of 2 seconds, you covered 4 units. So in a span of 15 seconds, you should be able to cover 30 units. So that's also the same rate. Okay, so enough about the rate. We already know that m is equal to 2, and now we have to find the y-intercept. So to find the y-intercept, you actually have to calculate. So you want to use the formula y equals mx plus b in order for us to calculate the y-intercept b. We already know the rate is 2, so all I have to do here is plug in a 2 for the m that I see, and then I just have to plug in an x and a y from this table. You can literally pick anything, but this is what I'm going to pick. So this is my x, and this is going to be my y. So y is 15, and my x is 5. So now I'm going to try to isolate b by itself. So 2 times 5 is 10, and I'm just going to write everything else down. And then I'm going to subtract 10 from both sides. Oops, sorry. And you should already know that 15 minus 10 is 5. So 5 is my y-intercept. So if you know that you have to write it in this formula, y equals mx plus b, and you know your rate is 2 with a y-intercept of 5, then your final formula is y equals 2x plus 5. M being your slope or your rate, and 5 being your b value or your y-intercept. All right, and then that's it. That's how you write slope-intercept form using a table. Thank you for watching.